Hi all. Today we are going to learn about the information system developments in SAD. SAD is actually system analysis and design. As you all know that system analysis and design is kind of the incredible part of the whole software development process. So we will see a little bit more about information systems development today. So the major aim for this, whole session is that we will define what is an information system, who are all the various stakeholders associated with this process, and what are the different life cycle techniques that is available, and how can we define a problem, how could we understand all the opportunities and the different alternatives which are there for making this whole system development process an efficient one, and the different phases of system development, like what the purpose, what should be the input and output, etc. So all these things, like the complete intro about for the system analysis and design, will be covered here. So what is a system? So initially, we need to know like what is a system. So anything which has got an input, which has got a process, and which has got an output, so that is a system. Okay, so that system might have a boundary and it will have a structure, and it might be behaving in a particular way for each and every, depending upon the inputs and how it transform and what should be the output that we need. And there will be a lot of interconnectivity between the different components in the system, and every system could have a feedback, right? So anything which has got an input and which can transform something or process something, which you can give something outside as an output, could be called as a system. And the systems could be natural one and the man-made one, right? So natural one systems, you already know that, the solar system which we see, and the marine ecosystem. So all those things are basically natural systems. And the information systems are those which are made by the humans, right? So an arrangement of people, say data, process, information technology, that can all work together, and we provide something accurate and we provide something on time to the organization, which in the way they need, right? So that could be called as an information system. Maybe for some analysis, say if I'm taking the university as an example, I'm getting the marks for my class after every mid-semester exam, after project, after final exam. Now I need to know how my class has actually done, whether they have done really well or whether they need some improvement or something like that. I need to analyze how my class has done. So then I could say that I can create an information system to analyze the performance of my class, right? So here I have students and I have certain data which is actually coming on to me, which is my input, that is your marks, and I am processing it maybe by using R tool, or maybe by using Tableau or some analysis, or maybe a simple Excel sheet will do for analysis. And then I'm coming out with some inferences, like what could be, what is the performance of the class, where I could improve, on which topic I could concentrate more. So I'm getting some analysis over to it. Then I could say that this is nothing but an information technology. So if we could say, we could combine both the hardware and the software technology together in order to ease the life of your client. Then you could say that it is an information system. And why we go for information system? Understand, we have this information systems in place in order to give accurate or more appropriate results, and also to give timely results. So that is one of the major concerns in any of the industry as it is concerned. You are given with a problem statement and you are getting funded for completion of that particular project, but it will never get completed on time, right? So you could say that we need a timely output for the system. Now, what are the different types of information systems? As you have already completed database, you already know about the transaction processing systems, right? So you capture the data, you store the data, and you can process and you can use it for business transactions. And management information systems, where the managers create the reports. Maybe it could be summary, or it could be dashboard, it could be some exceptional, it could be some graphical representations, it could be anything. So it is based on the transaction processing systems. We have got some data from the transaction processing system about our businesses, and the managers create these dashboards or reports for the benefit of the company. And decision support systems, yes, decision support systems, basically we analyze the dashboard and analyze the graphical the graphs which we have got, and from there we take decisions to which, say we have alternate solutions for reaching the target. We need to know which path we should take so that the time and the cost constraints are lesser, right? So that is a decision support system, whether to invest in this or not, okay, whether to grab this opportunity or not. So it's a decision support system, and it is based on the information which is actually provided. Then comes the expert systems. Expert systems are basically based on the artificial intelligence or intelligent agents. So those are those agents where the system or the machine are induced with intelligence, and the machine can help the users to take some decisions. So it is simulated. So it will extract or capture the knowledge of the experts and use those knowledge to induce onto the machines, and the machines will help you to take intelligent decisions. So your business intelligence softwares are in such a way that it will help you to analyze your business and help to take proper decisions. And then comes the communications and collaboration systems, where we allow communications and collaborations between the internal and the external user. It could be a normal MS Teams chat, or it could be an email system that is used in this company, or it could be some other platforms or web applications where the clients or the users or the employees of an organization communicate with other people in the same organization or outside the organization. Now there are various office automation systems. So that is something which we could see very often in you have your Moodle page, and you can add or register courses in the banner. You have various spreadsheet kind of applications. You have various applications which help you to make your life easier in a day-to-day life. And there are executive information system, which helps the executive managers in planning and assessing the platforms against the business strategy. So mainly the CEOs and higher level kind of people, higher management uses those systems in order to come out with different solutions. So those systems will have good and proper or efficient analysis softwares which will help them to analyze in the way they want. So they want to know, the university wants to know about the number of enrollments for a particular course to decide whether that course has to be offered in the near future or not. So such kind of executive information systems, and they want to know about the employee retention, and they want to know about the increase in the salary that has happened across, say, 5 years in the university for the staff in the UG courses who are taking the UG courses. So all such informations could be called as the types of the information system. So all these are different type of information systems. So now you know about the different type of information systems. You know what is a system, what is an information system, and what are the different types of information systems that you can actually build. Now when we look more forward to, you could say that who are all the stakeholders. So stakeholder could be any person who has got an interest upon an information system. So I have proposed one particular product to you, and you are interested in funding onto it. You could be one of the stakeholder, and you are a person who are ready to work for that particular, develop that. You could be a stakeholder, and you are a person who are interested to buy that from me. You are a stakeholder, and this is the ideation is basically from me. So I am a stakeholder. So anybody who are associated with that particular product could be called as a stakeholder. So it could be a business people, or it could be technical professionals, or it could be informational professionals associated with it, right? So there is a picture which is actually given over here. You can have a detailed look over to it. So there could be project manager, oversight committee, and there could be subcontractor, team leaders, right? And system owners are those people who fund, who basically, take the money and put the money over to the business. They allocate funds for the operation as well as for the maintenance, right? So both phases of the cycle, they have to fund, and they need to make sure that the proper funding and appropriate funding is allocated for that particular product so that it keeps going. Now there are system users. So system users is very important because they are basically divided into two. One are the internal users and the other one are the external users. So when we talk about internal users, they could be clerical or service workers, or it could be technical or professional staff, or supervisors, middle managers, executive managers. External users always comes up to the point that they are clients, they are customers, they are suppliers, partners, the remote and the mobile users. So all these things, they are internal, but they are disconnected. They are not part of the system. They are not part of the intra system. They are actually part of the inter system. They are outside the system. So such kind of users are called as the system users. Now there are system designers. So say we have designed databases in the last semester, right? We know how to draw an ERD diagram. We know how to draw an enterprise, entity relationship diagram, right? So such kind of people who design it, say you have already done it by using the SQL architect. So you are a designer there. You are being given with a business problem, and you are asked to understand and analyze the different kind of relationship between the various entities that you have identified, and now you have made a design, right? And there could be network architects like our ICT team, which is there in Poly, and you could see the graphic artists, the web architects, security experts, etc., who are all the designers who basically come out with the technical solution. There could be various alternatives. From among the alternatives, they are the ones who have to decide upon the best alternative for your solution. And then comes the system builders. So system builders are the people who implement them. So they are the developers. It could be application programmers, system programmers, database programmers, network administrators, webmasters who design, who help the design to be realized in the real life. So based on the design specifications, they need to develop that, they need to construct them. And there are system analysts. So they analyze the problem, opportunities, and the various alternatives. They understand what all should be the business requirements. They produce logical models. So the designs. So just before the design, these are the people who actually create the logical model, and these people identify the solutions, and they will give, okay, this is the best design and you better develop it. The skills needed by the system analysts is pretty wide, because they are one of the major people. So if they have technical knowledge, they can come out with the technical skills. If they have business knowledge, they will come out with business skills. And if they have people knowledge, they will come out with the people skills. So working with information technology, the computer programming skills. So those people require a wider knowledge, a diverse knowledge about. They should have good communication skill, good problem solving skill, flexibility, adaptability. So they are kind of the managerial level who work and who come out with proper solutions. Now comes other stakeholders. So are these the only people associated with the product? No, there could be external service providers. Say you are using mobile phones and you have an internet connection, you have a SIM in your phone, but who are all they providing? The internet is basically provided by somebody else, and your mobile SIM connection is probably from another people, right? So they are the external service providers for your applications, or the application as in the product phone, right? So the professionals who sell their expertise, say I am having a company which can build you a blockchain technology for your system, and there is another company which can build you the analytics parts. So these are two different companies which will provide you the service, and you can actually outsource that particular part to them, and they will provide you the service to you. So they are external service providers. And there are project managers. So project managers, their main job is to plan, monitor, control projects within the budget and within the schedule, within the deliverables. Deliverables are nothing but the outputs, and which has to stick on to the technical standards which is set by the company or the organization. And now, so we have seen about system, information system, the different types, and then we have also seen about the various stakeholders. Now we need to see about the various methodologies, models, techniques, and tools. So the major system development methodology is, you need to standardize every development process. Every development process, you need to standardize it. So that is why we need a method. So we need to have a clear method. So even if you are actually learning for your exam, you will have a plan, right? So first, okay, the difficult subject, you will take it, you will understand, you will divide it into different parts. The most difficult subject, the part of your course, probably you will have a brainstorming session or a combined study with your friend. The easier parts you will think like, okay, I will study to the last and I can manage by myself. So you have a proper plan for how to deal with a course, right? The same way, there should be some methodology for your system development as well. So it will provide you the proper guidelines so that you are sticking on to all the phases of the development at the right time with the right tools and with the techniques and the models. So technique means it is nothing but what are the different techniques that you could help to contribute to your development process. So it could be data modeling technique or project management techniques or user interviewing technique. So can I use any modeling technique, or can I use a project management technique, or can I use some interviewing techniques? Can I interview somebody else who have already worked with the model and see how which model or which technique is the best for me? Or is there any particular project management tools like Jira which will help me to identify and track what is happening? Or can I use some normal ERD kind of a technique or a normalization technique to build the models? So this is how actually the techniques are basically taken into consideration. And models are nothing but the design model. So even you have seen that in your good olden days when you were in the classes like till 10th, you have the science project, right? In the science projects you create the prototypes. So why do we create a prototype? Because it is a miniature model of the idea that you have, ideation that you have, that have come into your mind, right? So always this ideation will help you to understand how this model will work well when it is actually created in the real time, right? So it is simple representation of something which is actually complex in the world, and this will be easier. The prototypes will be normally cost friendly, and it will be time friendly, it will be budget friendly, and the simulation will be easier, and it will help you to learn how well you can actually scale it to a larger level in the real time, and what all should be the right amount of details that you require, and the proper communication between the system users, analysts and designers and the builders. You could have a clear idea about all of them if you are building a prototype or a model. And diagrams are part of it, and because these diagrams will always help you to communicate ideas, you have to communicate ideas. Sometimes when you speak some ideas, yesterday we have seen a small beautiful funny picture, right? Example of the SAD. So you could see that how we communicated and what we finally got, right? So communication is kind of one of the critical tool in whole of this process. So you have to communicate ideas, you need to generate ideas, you need to test the ideas, you need to get the feedback and refine your ideas. So all this comes as part of this process. So the main thing, even when you think about in your real life, if you see a movie, you always have that clips in your mind, that frames in your mind better than when somebody have advised you, right? So when you've gone through a real experience, you always have that impact on a much larger scale in your mind than with an approach like if somebody is simply advising you, right? So pictures can tell more about what it is than simply speaking, right? So that's what it is. That's a technique which basically uses here as part of the diagrams as well. So you have flowchart diagrams, you have entity relationship diagram, you have class diagrams, different type of diagrams which can communicate more onto the stakeholders who are associated with the project about the model, and you can communicate the ideas in a better way. So what are the tools which we have here? So tool is nothing but any software that will help you to create the models could be called as a tool. So for project management applications, you have Microsoft Project which is used, and you have integrated development environments like Visual Studio and the case tools like Rational Rows, and you have enterprise architect for creating the models as well. Now we will talk a little bit more about the system development life cycle. So there are different type of system development life cycle, but ultimately every model has to go through all these phases. First one is the project planning phase, then analysis phase, then design phase, then implementation phase. There are more phases associated with it. As we are concentrating more on the planning, analysis and design phase, we are sticking on to this phase, implementation. This is what we are concentrating about. Again, you have testing phase, deployment phase, and again we have different phases associated with it. And after the planning phase, you need to give the specifications. After the analysis phase, you will identify all the different alternatives and you will find out the best solution, you will design it, and then you will finally implement it. So as it goes like this, it is actually called as a waterfall model. There are another models as available here, that is nothing but spiral model. Each has got its own way of dealing things. So this is the spiral model where you will plan, then you will construct the prototype, then you will construct the second prototype. So each prototype, what you are basically doing is that you are improving with the help of feedbacks. So in each prototype, you are going through this whole circle, right? You will create the prototype, you will test it, you will integrate all the, you will analyze, you will design. So each phase you are actually going through it. So that much of improvements will happen to the whole development life cycle. Now we need to know, where do system development projects come from? So as we have done a small exercise in the last class, the problems are not actually chosen or given to you. Projects or the problems are actually, you are actually taking it from outside. When you see, look around, you will get the problems. So it could be any undesirable situation that prevents the organization from fully achieving its purpose or goal or objectives. An opportunity is nothing that if you complete that particular problem, or if you find a solution for the problem, you can take your company to your next level. And then directive is nothing but a requirement that is imposed by the management or some external influence. So this is an example of the classic project phase. If you could see, that there is a business community, okay, and you have the scope definition. You are starting it from here. You are identifying the problem, opportunities, directives, etc. And then you have a problem statement, then you are analyzing it, then you are getting all the requirements analysis, you get all the requirements, you come out with the logical design, then you do a decision analysis, then you come out with a physical design, then you are constructing and testing it, you are installing it or deploying it, then you have a proper system operation and maintenance. There are so many processes which happens in between, which will make your system more efficient and quality one. So what is a scope definition? So scope definition is as simple as that it is your problem statement. So it is a statement which will tell you what is the problem, what is opportunity, what are the directives, and is there any constraints associated with it, or what is the scope creep. Scope creep is nothing but the requirements and the expectations of the project increases as we progress through the project. So we should have some window of scalability. And what is a project charter? The project charter will completely give you the vision, scope and constraints and about your whole process. Then there is something called project request. So project request is kind of your proposal. You have identified a problem, you have identified all the vision and everything, and now you are actually giving it to somebody else for getting the funding. So this is your problem statement, and when you come out with your problem statement, you need to clearly identify what are the various requirements that you have identified, whether it is urgent, no it is not urgent, what is the visibility and what is the cost associated with it. You should have a complete idea about it. Then comes the problem analysis. So in the problem analysis, you will completely understand the problem, analyze the problem, the opportunities, the directives. You will do a cost and effect analysis. You will learn something called Ishikawa diagram or the fishbone diagram in course of time. And once you've completely identified the causes and the effects, you will find out the effects for the opportunities. Okay, so what all could be, how can I improve my opportunities, and how can I improve my improvement objectives, how can I establish that. Then comes the requirement analysis. So in requirement analysis, you have to do a functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements are those associated with the module base. Say if I am developing a car, I should have an engine, okay, I should have a petrol tank or a diesel tank, then I should have a proper gearing system. So these are all the functional requirements of the car, and I should have a music system in my car. These are all functional requirements, or the modules which are functional, which have certain outputs. And non-functional requirements is that I should have proper user interface for the music system, which is non-functional. I should have reliability of my car. The safe test has to be passed by the car, safety requirement, reliability, the speed, and all those stuff are the non-functional requirements. Now, once you identify the requirements, you have to prioritize them. And then comes the job of your system managers. So system manager has to identify the logical design. So logical design is something which you have learned by using your system SQL architect last time, right? So you have student enrollment course. So how student class is actually related. A student can enroll in multiple courses. A course can be associated with multiple students. So all those kind of relationship, the business problem, you have identified the entities, and what all are the different relationship between the entities has to be identified in the logical design. Then comes the decision analysis. In the decision analysis, you will understand the feasibility. So feasibility means whether it is feasible to come out with this design. So you need to identify the technical feasibility, the cultural feasibility, and the operational feasibility and economic feasibility. So when you talk about the technical feasibility, it could be like, do you have the subject matter expertise or the personnel with technical expertise to build that solution. And you can have cultural feasibility. Cultural feasibility is nothing but who would be the end user. Say I am going to come out with a product, so will I have enough customers so that I can make product in for a longer term. And operational feasibility means whether the solution will be able to fulfill the user's requirements. And economic feasibility is that, is it cost effective, will I be able to create profit from by doing this project or a product. And then comes a schedule feasibility, and it has to be implemented within a particular amount of time or within that acceptable time. When it is in the hot cake in the market, it has to be sold. And the legal feasibility comes with existing legal and contractual obligations. So if you already have certain obligations, will it be a restriction to the product which is already going to be in the market. And risk feasibility is that whether we will be able to do the successful implementation. So the technology which we have taken, the approach which we have taken, will it add onto the benefit of this particular product or not. Probability of success, what should be the probability of the success. So that is nothing but risk feasibility. So all these things has to be taken into consideration for decision analysis. And now the next one comes the physical design and integration. So this you have already seen. I mean, like you can either design by specification. Design by specification is like your physical system models and detailed specification, which will be written or computer generated blueprints of construction. And prototyping means you are actually building the actual miniature model of the real time system that you are going to build. And so physical model comes like this, some CAD design or some DB design, ERD design by using Power Architect or something like that. And construction and testing comes with the proper implementation of it, and you are going to test it by properly applying with your databases, the different softwares, the APIs related to it, the networks and all those into consideration. So you are trying to deploy it in the client system and test it whether it will actually work or not. And installation is installing or deploying it in the client system. So you should have proper system manuals, user manuals, and you have to train the users, and you have to convert the legacy data, install the system with the customers at the client's site and see whether it is. So it's like the go live kind of thing. And system operation and maintenance includes that ongoing technical support. So if in case any errors or any omissions or updates has to happen, you have to keep on doing it. It's kind of the production support and maintenance. And now we will see about a short quiz. So suppose you work in dentist office and you are asked to develop a patient scheduling system for the dentist clinic. So identify the scenario as. So is that a problem, is that an opportunity, or is that a directive? So it could be a problem because he don't have a scheduling system, so probably his whole how he organizes things is actually a mess. So he needs this as a problem and he need to find out as a, and it is definitely an opportunity because it will make his business in a better way. It will elevate his business to an automated one by making this patient scheduling system an automated one. And the directives is nothing but there will be certain guidelines and rules which has to be followed for the patient scheduling. So it stick on to the directive. So when you look over here, so whenever you get questions like this, go back and make sure that what is actually problem, what is opportunity, and directive. So an undesirable situation that prevents the organization from fully achieving its purpose. So you have a dentist clinic there, but you don't have a scheduling system. So it is making the things more messy. So you can actually, it's an undesirable situation. So that's a problem. Now a chance to improve the organization even in the absence of an identified problem. So if you have a patient scheduling system, it is going to add it is an value add to your existing system. And directive, a new requirement that is imposed by the management or some external influence. So this is a new directive or some new guidelines which is coming in place, so that it will make your whole life more easier and better. So it could be any of those. And then comes in which phase of the system development life cycle you start by collecting the requirements. So you already know that in which phase you will start collecting the by the problem analysis phase itself. You will understand, you will identify all the various requirements, which is actually, so there is a requirement analysis phase where you will have to the requirements gathering phase. And then you need to identify which system development cycle techniques which you can adopt. So I just wanted to bring upon two things here. So you have seen two different models. There are many more number of models available out there, but in that you have seen this waterfall model and spiral model. So in the waterfall model, as you could see, that it is a rigid model. I mean, like, you will adapt or you will take up this model if you know the requirements really well. That means it is just an incremental model. I mean, like, you are moving from the planning phase to the analysis phase, then to the design phase, then to the implementation phase, just it keeps moving like that. So all those things are basically not very flexible. If you want to make any changes at a later stages, it is really difficult for you to do that. So probably if you have a clear requirement specification at your hand, if you know what you have to do, if you know the system really well, you need to make a small change, or if you are applying it for a smaller project, you can go for the waterfall model. Now in the case of the spiral model, if you could see that you are actually you have a bigger problem. So it's kind of an iterative development technique. So you have a bigger problem, you are dividing it into smaller problems, and you are making it into more prototype, and you can do all this at each individual steps, and then finally you can integrate. So there is a higher level of flexibility across the, you can do everything in parallel. At the same time, you are flexible, you can actually interact with each other and make the changes. So it's more flexible. So if you have a larger system, if you are going to develop a larger system or a project or a product, then it is better to go for a spiral model. So when you look at here in this example, you are actually building a small patient scheduling system. So if you are building a small patient scheduling system, it is better to go with a waterfall model. But it also depends upon the situation. Like, say, if you are building it for a bigger hospital, where in a chain of hospitals where a lot of departments are there, you need to manage across the department, across the the various chains of hospitals, and you need to maintain that's a bigger system, then go for a spiral model. So it depends upon how the situations are as well. So it depends upon the perspective and how that business is basically run. So this is one example. So that's all about it. So in this whole thing, we have just learned about what is system, information systems, and the different types of information system, the various stakeholders, and we have also seen about the various methodologies and the different types of SDLC techniques, and we have also seen about the different phases which comes inside the SDLC process. So that's all about it for the day. So if you have any doubts or anything like that, please get back to me. Thank you so much.